Hey, everybody, it's Chris Michaels. We're back. It's been a few weeks since I came on here. Some events that I won't talk about today interrupted the whole flow of everything I was doing and kind of threw everything off track. But all I can say right now is when God wants you somewhere, He's going to make it happen and you can't stop it. So that's what happened. But I did have dreams 6 months ago showing me something big was going to come up and I was going to be leaving town abruptly, like the same day. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm not in Colorado Springs right now. I'm back in New York, my hometown of Buffalo. Temporarily, it's not a permanent move. The business that I'm going to talk about here a little bit, that some of you already know about, is still going to happen in Colorado. Nothing's changed there. In fact, I have a ton of dreams showing me I'm going to be still working with all those corporate and patent lawyers and everyone else there, builders, real estate agents, everything. It's all still in play. Um, and so, anyway, this is temporary. Okay, so that really is not important, but I wanted to explain why I haven't been on the last few weeks and haven't picked up anything I was doing previously. Okay, so um, I'm not trying to jump on the bandwagon because of the events that happened yesterday, which was July 13th, 2024, with the assassination attempt against President Trump. That's not why I'm jumping on today. The reason I am on today is because a whole bunch of things, like the title of this video points out, a lot of things are suddenly connecting together that I was doubting for a long time. Ever since the events of 4 years ago, where Trump did not get the second term, and all the people talking about, some big things are going to happen, and the other side was going to get exposed and thrown out. Those things haven't happened yet. But Kim Clement has been prophesying this for a long time, that there is a big event coming, or not necessarily a single event, but a whole series of events that's going to throw out and expose all the evil people and all these evil empires and all this kind of stuff. Um, it's starting to become really obvious because of what happened yesterday that now you can't silence Trump anymore. And it's like I've been realizing, it's a multi-thousand year pattern where Satan overplays his hand, and then the whole thing blows up against him, and all the workers of evil, their whole plan gets blown up. You can talk about Haman in the book of Esther, and everything gets exposed, and the people that are trying to plot evil the thing happens to them instead. And, this is a multi-thousand year pattern that keeps repeating. And so it just happened again. That's pretty obvious, but, sometimes God allows things to happen, or it's his plan that an evil incident will happen so that his plan can happen. And so I know for a fact that's what happened yesterday in Pennsylvania with the assassination attempt. And because of that, I am now able to tie together things that go back several years with the dreams I had about meeting with and working with President Trump, to a certain extent, because of the energy invention that I've talked about many times. And I've also known that this invention has been referred to by Kim Clement. Now, I'm not saying it's the only one, because there's some other things there that I haven't quite connected yet, haven't decoded, or I haven't seen in my own dreams yet. But I know that this energy tech invention, first of all, is global. I've talked about it many times. It uses a form of science that mainstream scientists, are so far off in theories that are just nonsense. It's not mainstream science, it's mainstream nonsense. That's what it is. And by the way, Kim Clement did talk about how there would be real scientists, real Christian scientists, that were going to come on the scene, and they were going to tell things how they really are, not this garbage we've been told in our schools. So, um, anyway, a lot of things are connecting right now, today, this morning. And I was going to do a video already because I'm using new video platforms. I'm back on BitChute again. I'm experimenting with Odyssey. And of course, I'm on Rumble and YouTube. I was going to do a video just kind of like reintroduce this whole thing to those on those other channels that aren't familiar with this, or like I was on BitChute in the past and had a lot of views from, the scale of things with me is pretty small, but it was a lot. And so I'm back on now. And I was going to do an intro, but we have that today in a different way than I expected. Okay, so a few things to mention here regarding the Trump Clement connections with the invention. Okay, first of all, I was listening to one of the, I think they call it Prophetic Rewind, with Kim Clement's daughter, Danae. She was talking about how they've been going back through all these prophecies and repeatedly, and trying to figure out, okay, like what year are some of these things going to happen? And now they figured out that a certain series of prophecies is happening right now. 2014, I'm sorry, 2014 was when Kim Clement spoke the prophecies, but 2024, a full 10-year cycle, and now they're happening in real time. And for me, that's interesting because the first dream I ever had about this space energy invention was 10 years ago, back around April 2014. So we're dealing with the same time frame. Um, I believe that has relevance, especially because, like I said, there is a big connection between this invention and the Kim Clement prophecies about energy, and new forms of energy. And I don't know if it has anything to do with Big E or not. I haven't heard the full explanation of that yet. But he talked a lot about energy, and this is one of those things, definitely. Okay, so now we know that basically Trump is going to be pushed into the forefront. He is. He was pushed into the forefront yesterday, and none of the people on the wrong side of things can't do anything now. Like I said, the devil overplayed his hand, and now Trump is back. It's like all the people have been saying nothing can stop what is coming. I think it's pretty obvious now. Now the door is open, and no hindering attempt is going to stop anything. That's over. So we're going to watch and see how things play out. Today is July 14th, the day after that. And so, anyway, we'll see how things go from here on out. Okay, so I need to talk a little bit about, okay, the global renaissance. I'm just going off the title in my slides here, my one slide, and how I just recently reposted a vision that a friend had several years ago about a global renaissance, and it was seen in a vision. I'm not going to replay that whole thing here because it'll take too long. And just go back and watch that. It's on all my channels, the global renaissance. But if you understand everything Trump's been doing, um, in the background, or some of it up front, with all these empires that have taken over the world, especially the energy empire, but the political empires especially. I started to realize that this energy invention was all tied to all that. Somehow it all had to happen together. And again, now that we see what's going on with Trump, this global renaissance, you think of what a renaissance was 500 years ago. It was a spiritual renaissance. It was a technology renaissance. It was a science renaissance. Many things started happening back then. And I'm not a big history major, but I know that back then, that was around the time that of Martin Luther and the 95 Theses and the Catholic Church and the corruption and the Protestant Church, the Protestant Reformation, all that stuff. There's so many things going on now in a spiritual sense, which are overthrowing all this dead church doctrine. I don't want to get into that because I've talked about it extensively in the past. But there's things going on right now. Of course, I'm part of the global ministry that's making that happen. I won't get into that today. That's a big, long topic. But the whole thing, the entire big whole scheme of things is all fitting into pieces, at least in my mind. I understand it because I've been in the midst of this for the last 10 years. And so global renaissance is many things. And go back to that video I did on my friend's vision, and that will put more pieces into perspective. Okay, so I had another reason why I'm doing this video today is last week, or about in the last week, I had Kim Clement appear twice, back to back on two successive nights. And all of a sudden, he hasn't appeared in dreams in a long time. In fact, right now, offhand, I don't remember if he did or when he did the last time, but all of a sudden, out of the blue, he comes and appears, and it's not him. It's like one is a video and one is I hear him talking, and I'll explain those later in a different video. But all of a sudden, he popped up within the last week, and I'm thinking, wow, that's interesting. I didn't realize it meant part of it. The meaning of that dream was that I need to start following him again. So that's why I'm here talking about referring to his prophecies with Trump, and of course the energy prophecies. Okay, so a lot of things are connecting, and now, so you can see the timing of this whole invention taking place along with many other things. And I started wondering, I started doubting, is this still in effect with Trump and how things went a few years ago, I was really doubting that. I was even doubting, are Kim Clement's prophecies still valid? Was there something that knocked all that out? And I'm like, so I just put everything on a sideline. I just dumped everything and said, well, I'm not going to follow any of this stuff anymore. I wasn't really following Trump at all lately, but I've been wondering in the back of my mind, of course, are these dreams still in effect? And I really believe now that we can say yes, they are. So I've had as many dreams of working with Trump or meeting him as I have working with Elon Musk. If you watched the Twitter posts from Elon, or X, yeah, it's not Twitter anymore, it's X. If you're following Elon there, which I recommend you do, then he fully endorsed Trump as of yesterday after the assassination attempt. He said he fully endorses Trump now for president. So I've had as many dreams about working directly with Elon as I have working with Trump. And now again, you ask yourself, well, why would I have that? Well, if you understand what this invention is, then it all makes sense. Again, it's the whole global renaissance thing. It's the fact that Elon has already pushed things forward with the electric vehicles and with SpaceX, because this is space technology, not just energy technology. Well, I'm saying it has global connections with everything. Um, and so if you haven't been following that, bluecubrocket.com, like you can see at the bottom of the main slide here, that's where you go. And it'll be also, the link will be in the description below the video. That's as much as I can say in plain sight about what this invention is. Okay, so again, if you're wondering about the scientific basis of the invention, I call it space energy invention. Well, if you're following the mainstream science, that word space energy doesn't make any sense because they don't believe there is any energy in space. They think everything is all gravity based, and it's not. I had a series of dreams 4 years ago showing to follow the electric universe scientists. They have the correct understanding. And as a result, as a result of that, the mainstream science is garbage. It's wrong, completely wrong. You can't make the entire universe operate on gravity when that is the weakest force. And I've talked about this before. If you understand the electric universe model, that is the only one that makes sense. And that is how this invention operates. If that wasn't true, then this invention would do nothing. It would just sit there, a pile of parts doing nothing. By the way, God showed me this invention. Didn't just show me, he showed my wife. And we're going to talk about that another time. But we have all the designs, everything's ready to go. All we're waiting for is the funding. Of course, you know that if you've been following me, you're waiting for the funding. And so I've had a whole series of dreams about the thing already happening and being in the building with my first employees, all that, and everything else along the way between here and there. I talked about this before, where I've had a series of dreams showing me what's going to happen. People are going to try to overrun me when this business starts, and just everything, who to connect with, who I need to connect with, the fact that I'm going to be working with the corporate and patent lawyers. I've had a series of dreams, especially this year, about all that stuff, all of it. And in the beginning of this year, 2024, I talked a lot about that. Okay, so I'm just giving a very brief recap, which was what I was going to do the other day on my intro video, that there are so many things happening and so many things I've seen in dreams that came from God. I was just talking with a political, I don't know what to call them, people that promote a candidate. They're not like on the payroll or anything. They just promote them. They're volunteers. And I met with some people for a New York Senate candidate, a New York U.S. Senate candidate in the state of New York last week, and we talked about all this, and the person understood, very prophetic, and understood that dreams come from God. And I was able to talk about the invention quite a bit, which is really surprising because most of the time I can't get people that understand prophetic things. They don't understand dreams come from God. There's so many times I have to keep my mouth shut when I'm dealing with business people. They don't understand that stuff, and so I usually have to meet many times before I can tell that. But I was able to, in one single meeting, in just a matter of minutes with this person up here in Buffalo, New York, and it was really amazing. Um, so, okay, so I'm just looking at the main points here. This is, like I say, it was an intro video. I was going to do this in the last few days. I'm not trying to get into anything serious here, but just to say, now I know for a fact that the Trump and Kim Clement connections with the invention, they're fully in play now. And so if you're wondering, like, why is this thing taking so long, which of course I've wondered that too, it's really hard to be in a process like this when you're in the middle of it and you get dreams, yes, but you're still trying to sort them out. And then you're wondering about the timeline, and then you have to go through this horrible many years of no resources. God puts you in his wilderness training, and you have barely enough to get by. And the last year and a half in Colorado was the worst year and a half of my entire life. I would have rather spent 3 years in Iraq when I was in the Air Force. I would have rather spent 3 years in Iraq than a year and a half in Colorado under the conditions I was in. It was absolutely horrible, um, for a lot of reasons. But anyway, I'm just telling you this: when you're in the middle of a thing like that, God has a way of putting you in very horrible situations. Well, go look in the Bible. What did he do with Joseph? He was in prison. I wasn't in prison. Joseph was for years. And even if you read the book of Jasher, you find out that Moses was in prison for 10 years. They threw away the key, then just forgot about him. God kept him alive for 10 years. When you have a really high calling, you're going to go through an absolutely horrible series of years. It's God's training process. We all have stuff that's got to get fixed. And so, and we got to be prepared for things. And it doesn't happen overnight. The full training process is 20 years full. Um, so anyway, I've talked about that before too. But anyway, just to say, kind of putting a lot of things into perspective and just really hitting the main points. Okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted to say today. I didn't want to get into a lot of details. I can do more later, but that's pretty much it for today. So if you want to follow what's going on with the invention, bluecuberocket.com. You want to follow everything I've said about dreams and where this invention really came from, it's chrismichaels.com, and that's all in the description links below here. And so, okay, like I said, not jumping on a big event from yesterday. In fact, I would have rather waited, but I've been waiting too long just to get back on and do videos again. So, hoping to pick up where I left off a few weeks ago, before I left Colorado. And I think that's it for today. So, short video. Hopefully, this is a good brief intro for some people that don't know anything about this, again, on the new video platforms. And that's all I'm going to say for right now. So, come back, follow me. If you want to know where this is going, or you want to know how God speaks in dreams. I deal with that a lot. I also interpret dreams through my website, chrismichaels.com, and you can contact me there. So, okay, that's all for today. Thanks for listening, and God bless.